campus of a leading pharmaceutical company to meet the father-son duo, the second and third generation owners of the business, a company that has made its mark not just in branded generics but has also forayed into biologicals and vaccines and has launched a drug for the very first time in India from lab to market. This is one company that claims to thrive on innovation, and this is one area that they are betting big on. This is Pathbreakers, and I'm Neha Bothra. Mr. Pankaj Patel, thank you so much for having us at the Zydus campus. Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome to Zydus.
Your father started the business. You were a second-generation entrepreneur. Were you carrying the weight of legacy when you entered the business?
Yes, so my father started the business somewhere in 1952, and I joined the business in somewhere in 1976. When I joined the business, it was about 4 crore rupees in annual turnover, and I had an opportunity to actually learn from the bottom at that time it was only a formulation company. The first thing I did was starting making bulk drug for the company. Around 81, 83, I became the executive director responsible for day-to-day responsibility, and the business then grew to become about 400 crore rupees by 1994-95. And unfortunately at that time, the business was split into two parts, and as a result, Zydus was born in 1995. Which was a 200 crore rupees company at that time. And with that, we had an opportunity to look at the world differently and maybe create a path for Zydus going forward.
So two very interesting things you said here. Look at the world differently. I understand when you started the business, it was a domestic business. Today you are the number 3 player in the United States, in the US market. Tell me a bit about this journey. How did you identify the opportunity in the US? How did the generics business blossom the way it has? And being one of the top 5 companies in India is no small feat considering the competition also. How did you achieve this?
So I think what happened is that in 1995, our business became a small business with only a turnover of about 200 crore rupees. And we realized that we can't do everything. We need to really focus to create significant presence. So our first milestone was clearly defined that we have to touch 1,000 crore rupees turnover by year 2000. And we basically worked out on a plan to make that happen. And that made us a significant player as far as India is concerned in year 2000. And then we realized that, okay, 2000 is good, but I think what is the next milestone for us? And then we said, now we need to start moving into international business. And we said, now we should start exporting to the developed world. And we selected the market of US as the first market to move in. When we started the journey, everybody that time, particularly the consulting community, told me, you are too late to arrive. And it's not possible for you to now achieve something there, given the fact that number of players have large product basket, they have deep relationship, and unless you have a large product basket, you are not going to become successful. But I said, well, I don't want to believe on them, I want to understand market myself. And that's why I spent significant of my time into US for 2 years to make sure to understand the market, understand the customer, understand the need of the people, the missing gaps, and find out what can I do to make a difference to the customers there. And I think that's where we started a journey. On the other side, we focus on creating infrastructure which would be able to support the dreams and plans we have. So we created a very efficient product development group, we created a very good regulatory group, and also we created an upfront marketing group in the US. And through that, we did file products continuously. If you see, currently we are the largest filer of number of ANDAs from India, and we have been the largest product approval happens to our company for last several years. And this journey continues.
I want to touch upon something you said. You said that there were critical insights that you derived when you studied the market, the consumer. Could you share some of these, and which ones specifically helped you turn the game in your favor, that were game changers, so to say?
So originally everybody said the US customer, don't want to deal with too many people. If you are a small new player with 3 products, they don't want to spend their time dealing with you. When I started meeting customers and understanding, I said, yes, there are pain points for this customer. So we identify products which would help them to remove their pain points. The second thing which I realized, that the biggest support they need is continuous supply. And that's why we spent time to create a global supply chain which would meet this expectation of theirs. Because customers in US were looking at price, of course, but more importantly, reliable supply and good customer service. This is what basically I believe was a winning formula for us at that time.
Indeed. And what about the regulatory perception? I mean, India was at that point seen as a country that, yes, made affordable drugs, could address the pain points. But when it came to manufacturing practices, there was a lot of scrutiny by the US regulator. How did you deal with that and correct the perception?
This is a myth. There is the greatest opportunity for any company to learn when you interact with US FDA. They actually teach you, they develop you. If you take the inspection or observation of US FDA in that spirit, there is a lot of things to learn. And there is nothing to lose actually.
Okay.
Globally, every company has issues in 1 or 2 of their plant. And that is part of the journey. If you are able to resolve those problems and move forward, FDA is a very supportive organization.
So, you started off with the formulation business. Today you have your foot in almost every other area in the pharmaceutical basket and you thrive on innovation. I think you are the first company to actually have a NCE right from lab to market that is being sold in India. The Indian regulator is known for delays, is known for not being very cooperative. How did you overcome these hurdles?
As a company, we had a very clear vision. So in 1995, we have said that we'll be a global research-driven pharmaceutical company. And I think in 2000, when we crossed the mark of 1,000 crore, we embarked upon setting up a NCE research program. Invested in resources, capabilities. Every capability was built in-house. And through that, we started our journey. The rest is the history. Today, we have 2 molecules approved in India by DCGI. One of them already now getting approval in different markets. Advanced clinical trial happening in US.
Also, it's interesting that you never outsourced any of these R&D processes. Was there any doubt with investors when you were embarking on this journey? How did you face the skepticism and how did you continue doing what you wanted to despite all the distractions?
I very strongly believe that unless you are understanding the science, you cannot outsource the science. And that's why we need to understand the science. Now, obviously, we don't know everything. But there are enough number of consultants globally who are willing to come and help you. So we took their help to learn, train our team. Indian investors do not give any weightage to innovation. If you see the valuation of companies in India is not based on innovation. It is understood much more in the Western world because they've seen the benefit of innovation.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've really faced too much issues with them. But because I did everything in-house, I could still keep my overall spend within the control. And I spend money wisely. That's why I'm able to do so much more in so little money.
What is your vision for Zydus now? There is the pharma business, there's the FMCG business. How do you want Zydus to be seen, to be recognized in the coming years?
So I think Zydus has to become a complete healthcare provider, game changer in the society, in that. Because I believe that we might have done good in pharmaceuticals, but healthcare is much bigger than pharmaceutical. And each of the other areas also we have to bring change.
Which are some of these areas that you are indicating?
So one area we clearly see is the hospitals. And I think there is a need to really bring an environment using modern management technique that one can feel like going to the hospital without any concern or a fear. Now these are very softer aspects, but it makes a huge difference as far as outcome of a patient is concerned. It requires training and motivation.
When you look back now, do you have any regrets? Anything you would have done differently based on what you understand now? Hindsight is perfect, I understand, but anything that you would have wanted to tackle differently, address differently?
No, I could have arrived into research much earlier. So I always felt that maybe we are 5 years late. We could have gone into the US approval. We could have got US approval 5 years back, or European approval 5 years back. So that's what I feel now. It's not a regret, but I would have done that. No.
Sure.
As an entrepreneur, you are always ambitious.
Yes.
And that's why all your ambitions are never fulfilled.
So what's the unfinished work of Pankaj Patel that you would want the next generation to execute, to see through? What would they be?
No, I finished my job. I have no unfinished job which I have given to my son. I'm sure he has his own idea, vision. I do not want to give him an unfinished job, or I don't want to give him an agenda. He will decide how to take it forward. Because unless you give a freedom to an individual, he cannot blossom. And I want that my son blossoms, and along with the company blossoms.
So you are a very proud father. Very relieved chairperson as well, in the sense that you have the trust of knowing that the company is in good hands.
Exactly, you're perfectly right.
Sharvil, thank you so much for speaking to us, joining us on Pathbreakers. It's great to have you on the show. We just spoke with your father and he told us about his journey of building what was earlier Cadila and now Zydus Lifesciences. Tell us your earliest memory of seeing your father build Zydus.
Since we created Zydus in 1995, we had to build a lot of capabilities, not only in terms of talent, but also in terms of infrastructure. And I think his execution orientation, which I got to sow in terms of project management, in terms of making sure these come up on time at the right cost and more efficient, was something that was very exciting for me to see. The granularity in terms of how that generation gets into the detail is something that something I try and I'm still learning. I wouldn't say I've still stopped learning on that. And the second, which was very remarkable for me to see, is his way of building talent, individual people who he nurtured and grew and who became very strong people and leaders in this organization.
Mm-hmm. So you are a third generation entrepreneur. How is it working with the old guard? I mean, you come in with fresh energy, fresh ideas. How easy is it to enforce or inspire changes?
I don't know if I can put it out as easy or difficult, but I think since the very beginning, I have very clearly understood the vision of the organization. Sure. We had said that by 2020, we'd be a research-based pharmaceutical company. So I think that has always been what I wanted to do since the day I entered this organization. I understood the current need of the organization, which is all about access and affordability, which is how do you produce high-quality generic medicines, and then how do you make commercially successful. So every time we wanted to take risk, do new things, or I wanted to take risk on the biotech side, on the NCE side, I think there was a lot of support, because I think the end vision was always that from the promoters or the board that we had always decided for. So I would say that has not been very difficult in terms of being able to do new things, and I think in this company taking risk has always been rewarded. We have not succeeded every time we have taken risk, but it has never been considered to be a wrong thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So, you spoke yourself about the journey of the organization from being a leading player in the generic space to now gradually moving into the space of innovation. What are your focus areas in this particular space, and what is the strategy?
So I think what makes any organization successful is how do you create a positioning for yourself in this competitive environment. So while we have done very well in our generic side, when we are thinking about how do we move from that to the next league in terms of research, we said we must do something that will create an impact. And so we, from the very beginning, selected areas of research where there were no medicines available for certain diseases. And we picked up areas where not many were concentrating on. in it. And we said we will create our mark in these areas. We took a higher challenge because this was not a path that was tested or tried. And I think that has been very helpful for us. So when we launched Lipaglyn or Saroglitaz as a molecule, again, it was the first in the world for the treatment of NAFLD. In India, it is the only treatment that is approved for NAFLD. Globally, there are many drugs under development. So that is what excited us. We strongly believe that if we create that kind of differentiation, we would also be understood as a company amongst the many who have that capability of doing something different and new.
Tell us a bit about the strategy for the biosimilars business and also for biologics. When we were speaking, you spoke about how this is now the new treatment that will be embraced and accepted by medical professionals across the world. What work is being done here, and what's the pipeline of some products that you can talk about?
So this is an area that we early mid-2000s we decided that we would foray into biotech. If you look at how the world has evolved with aging population, with the lifestyle disorders that exist, the diseases are also changing. And then if you look at what are the treatments for these diseases, these are all monoclonal antibodies or biotechnology related products. So today globally, if you say which are the most valuable molecules in the world, 9 out of the top 10 molecules are biological products. So we understood that the diseases are changing and the treatments for these diseases are changing. So that's how we entered this. And the reason for us was very simple to do biosimilars is because these drugs were very expensive and that made it access difficult. And now we have a very, very large portfolio of biosimilars with more than 12 plus commercialized biosimilars, and we have a pipeline of another 8 to 10 under different phases of development. At least for some of these new age diseases, now we have all the drugs that are required to treat it. And we have drugs now which are number 1, number 2 or number 3 in this space. So we have not only been able to develop them at an affordable price, but also launch them and commercially make them meaningful also.
I think another important focus area has been the FMCG business, which was accentuated with the acquisition of Heinz India. There is a lot of visibility. You are the leaders, I think, in 5 out of 6 categories of these products. What really is your plan to grow Zydus Wellness? And also, if you can give some perspective about wellness and healthcare, how will the two stack up in the coming years?
So I think if you look at even before the acquisition, we always believed in creating categories. We never entered existing categories. So if you look at what were the earlier brands for Zydus, it was sugar free, which was a sugar substitute. Again, one of the first few launched and very successful with more than 95 share. Then we had skincare treatments. There were everything, but we came out with different products like scrubs and peel-offs. Again, very unique and niche. If you look at the history of the portfolio, it's actually originally pharmaceutical brands. GSK is the one who launched Complan, Glucon-D and all. And these are all specific to a certain need. So these are not frivolous products, these are specific need products. There is a milk deficiency, there is a protein deficiency, there is a deficiency because of different reasons, and these products got launched. So these made very good sense for us because these were similar to what we wanted to do. Second, we thought by doing this we would get great synergies, which we have been able to do so in terms of distribution, in terms of improving our reach, in terms of scale. Now because they are brand leaders, they definitely have the room to become significantly larger and this business has the potential to become a significantly large business for the company and which will also create a lot of value because it's more consumer centric. Compared to pharmaceuticals.
So would it contribute half the revenue for the Zydus Group in the coming years?
Today, Zydus is more global. So we have global revenues which are much larger. But if I just take the India geography, this can definitely become at least half of what India business could be for us.
So what's your strategy going forward for the FMCG part of the business? Will you be looking at more acquisitions? How will you look to bolster your presence in an already very cluttered and competitive market?
So the business has enough, for Zydus Wellness, it has enough room to grow, both from the reach point of view as well as in terms of penetration point of view. So that will continue and there is a room for it to do some inorganic plays also for specific areas, which that business will continue to do.
So the 3 big focus areas, if you were to break it down, what would they be for the Zydus Group as a whole?
So the first would be drug discovery and innovation. That is what's going to lead the organization going forward. The second is how do we become better in terms of our operational efficiency. And the third would be to nurture the talent for the new areas that we want to develop for. So we have great capabilities and talent in terms of here and now. I think these three things would be very, very critical for the company so that it can achieve its plan for the next 25 years.
When I was speaking with many analysts trying to understand more about the company, one feedback was that execution has been relatively weak in non-US markets. How do you want to address these concerns in terms of ramping up and showing results in these markets?
So I would say for us, if you look at in terms of size and scale, we have two markets, the US and India. And these are the two large markets which we are focusing all our efforts on. And that's because we have talent and we have infrastructure in place for it. So in US, we are currently only a pure generics player, though a very successful pure generics player. In India, we have all of it. We have a generics business, we have a branded generics business, and now we want to create an innovative portfolio. We strongly believe that our vision is that over the future, 50% of incremental growth will all be driven out of innovative portfolio. So now whether it is our biosimilars, it's our NCEs, which is saroglitazar and desidustat, or our future drugs that are coming up, I think all of these will add value, help us differentiate ourselves from many other companies and create a very sticky business. It's all in the making. We have two launch products. They are very successful now in the market. I believe that the success of this will create a very strong India franchise. This will allow us to have two strong markets. And then we are seeding a lot of emerging markets. There are markets which are doing very well for us. That will scale up as well.
I want to talk a bit about the COVID vaccine. It was the first DNA vaccine the world saw, and definitely on a scientific front, I think the discovery was great. But were you a tad disappointed that you could not monetize the opportunity as much as you could have had you adhered perhaps to the timelines and had it been launched a bit sooner than it was?
Yeah, so I think commercially, definitely. On the science and innovation front, we were very happy with the success that we made because this became the world's first DNA vaccine. This became the first vaccine to be tested on such a large number of patients. 30,000 plus volunteers participated in our clinical trials. I think from the science point of view, technology point of view, I think we did it on time, we did it well, we became a pioneer in that. I think where we found it difficult is that not only had we had to do research, but we had to scale up and manufacture this at this scale. So we had to build a plant while COVID was going on.
Sure.
We had to commission the plant while the Delta wave was going on. We worked on a very new technology. Where we could have done better is potentially operationalize this plant faster, and we never scaled up this technology to the level that would have required to be done, which took us a long time. So I think those were the learnings that we have had, but I think we are still as an organization very happy with the progress because now we do have a new platform on the vaccine front which can be utilized for developing future vaccines. And now we do have the infrastructure also in place.
Indeed. Sharvil, as a leader, you have on your shoulders a 70-year-old legacy. How does it feel to carry that legacy, the responsibility that comes with it? Is it daunting?
I wouldn't say it's daunting, but I think the company has achieved a lot in the last 75 years. It is built for success, but it is charting a path which is beyond what it has been doing so far. So I think the future and that's where I think a lot of time and effort has to be put in by me and the leadership team at Zydus to make sure that while we've succeeded in so many things till now, we succeed in the future of what we want to do. We don't want to ever compromise on our values and behavior, and I think we hold them very true to ourselves.
On this note, I'll wrap this conversation, Sharvil. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.